Okay, guys, are you ready? Are you ready? What is up? So hey guys, good evening. It's Rich, Tower Vape. Thank you for coming on my show. It is March 6th, 2014, and I'm really excited about who I'm going to have on. I'm going to have a special co-host tonight, guys. I'm going to have Vapor Joe. You guys know him from the blog, the famous Vaping blog. You guys know him from Mod Envy, pretty much the biggest vaping show in the world. So we're going to have him on as a co-host, and my special guest tonight will be Russ, my man Russ Wishtart, from the show on Vapor's Place, Click Bang, Tuesday nights, 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So hold on, I'm going to give them the links. Hold on a second here, and I'll bring them in. Hold on just a moment. Okay. Somebody bringing them in just a moment. They should be here momentarily. Just gave them both the links. Yes, Tony, I am still on. Hello, hi guy, how are you? And as you guys could see over there, here are all of Russ's website and social media links. Hold on, we're just, hey Joe, what's up? We're waiting on Russ, and then we're gonna.
Wait, what's with that opening? I felt like I was in church.
Well, you don't like it?
E-cigarettes.
It's very ethereal. It's very ethereal.
It's like what was that movie? Oh God. Damn it! Now I don't know. Every time I see that I just think of this movie I saw when I was a kid. Heavenly something. I forget. It's been such a long time. Smokey's in the house too. No, Smokey. Oh, Smokey's in the house. He's.
Oh, what's up? Hold on. Let me just set up. Let me set these up. Okay. Where's that? Here we are. Say hey guys, Russ. Say hi to the room.
Hey now, what's going on, everybody?
Oh, I forgot to plug my good mic in. I sound like an amateur tonight. You know, I gotta pimp around that we're live. So give me 1 second here.
Okay.
Right.
Oh, you're gonna have. You're gonna put in like your deep bass microphone, huh, Joe?
Well, no. You know what? These nice mics are wonderful, but man, are they a pain in the butt to set up. This is just so much simpler with the headset. You know what I mean?
Understood. No, guys. Anyway, guys, like I said, if you guys don't know who Russ is, you should. He has a show that's a pretty popular vaping show. It's on Tuesday nights on Vapor's Place. Country Prammy's been putting in all his links, including his Facebook group, where you could find him on SoundCloud. including his archives. His archives are great, so if you haven't caught any of his shows, you definitely should catch some of his archives. He's also gives you the link to VP Live. Vapors Place VP Live on Tuesday nights where you can plug in. So anyway, Russ, how are you doing today, man?
I'm doing fantastic. Thank you so much for having me on your show, Rich. Long time coming.
I know. It's here. I want to just throw this first question, Russ. You'd probably be the only person that would relate to this. New City Pizza or Rocco's?
Oh, I don't know. I think New City. It was New City. New City Pizza was the one next to Mr. Oz, right?
Yeah.
New City Pizza.
Okay, me too.
I don't think they're around anymore, dude.
No, New City Pizza is definitely around. They're both still around. Rocco's is a full-service restaurant. New City Pizza is still there. Oh, yeah. They're both still there. Anyway, guys, if you guys didn't understand, the reason why I actually asked him that is because this is an interesting fact. I never really divulged this before. Russ and I grew up in the same town. So, went to the same high school, just at different times. So,
how old are you? I'm 37. How old are you?
I'm 42.
We just missed that.
Yeah, so like after I graduated is when you just came in.
Right.
I graduated. Well, yeah. So you know what? When I was,
you're older than Russ.
Yes, I am.
Can you guys believe that? Wait, before look at Rich. This guy is older than both of us.
Tom.
I'd love to know the fucking fountain of youth, this horn magic you use to keep yourself looking the way you do.
It's called being Filipino. It's the Asian genes. But in all seriousness, yeah, it's like here. Let's put it this way: Clarkstown South, right? The wall, you're able to still smoke at the wall. That's when I was still there. They didn't put in the ban until 1990, I think.
Yeah, just when I got there, yeah.
So, but anyway,
now you can't. Now in most high schools, I don't know what any specific high school does, but most of them you can't even bring any tobacco or any tobacco product, whatever their definition of that is. You can't even bring tobacco onto a campus. Even just cigarettes in a box, you can't even have those in a car. In a lot of places, it's pretty crazy.
Wait, hold on a second. I'm just trying to close things. I think there's something.
Hopefully,
Okay.
Yeah, I remember when I was in high school, you got busted for smoking in trouble, but man, you can't even bring a pack of cigarettes on campus. Insane.
It's the world we live in now, and it's obviously spilling into our world. So it is what it is.
No doubt. And you know what though? I'm just. Oh wait, Joe. I think just letting you know your video's frozen. But anyway.
Is it?
Oh no, you're back. You're back. I think sort of. But anyway, but Russ, I guess the first thing I do want to ask you is, there's a lot of questions I've been wanting to ask you, but there's a show that you did a couple years ago that pretty much answered a lot of the questions I wanted to ask, and that was, you have this persona when you come across on air, and obviously people that have met you, seen you are in person, but I mean, how does it differ from when you were growing up? I guess in terms of your confidence levels when being assertive, talking to people and whatnot. And I think it was kind of interesting to let people in on that because I was the opposite. In a lot of ways. I wasn't the greatest student in school. I graduated the middle of the pack. I didn't have a problem talking to people. I was cool. But it seems that I guess as we get older and we get more mature, and I guess if you want to call us mature, man-child, whatever, I find it difficult to come up to certain people, either in the community or otherwise, unless I can fit in constructively somehow. Do you know what I mean?
Well, yeah, maybe it was very different. When I was growing up, I was very shy, very introverted. I was a good student. It was really not acceptable for me not to be, so I just was. But I was shy, didn't talk to girls, definitely all the way, just right until I got to college, when I was able to finally get some freedom. I immediately abused it and almost got thrown out of school, but I managed to stay in school and just kind of loosened up. You meet new people. What college is, you can kind of start over. That's what it is, and right. I did. And from there, you do the things you do when you go to college, and things change.
Right.
So,
Go ahead.
As far as as far as the vaping thing goes, though, I understand what you're saying, because I stumbled into the community. I mean, I think most people do, but I started. It'll be 4 years I started vaping this coming summer. So 4 years ago, when I had just, decided to give a blue cig a shot because I saw an internet ad for it. I tried it, and it doesn't work very well. So I had problems with it, and I had a technology failure one day, and I ended up driving out to a vape. You couldn't even call it a vape shop, because it's really just the warehouse they had. There was no brick and mortars back then, but you could go there and buy stuff. And so I went to the warehouse to V-Liquid Planet on Long Island, and there was I thought they were listening to the radio, and while I was waiting for them to get my order together so I could have my vaping stuff, I'm like, well, what are you listening to? Because I stopped to listen, and it wasn't a regular talk radio show. And I said, what is that? Because I heard them. I knew they were talking about vaping, but obviously I was so new, I didn't know any of the terminology. And they said, oh my God, it's amazing. You got to listen to this. It's called Vaporcast, which is no longer as a podcast, but at the time it was the most popular podcast for vaping. He said, it's a podcast. It's all about electronic cigarettes. And I thought to myself, I'm like, man, these guys are crazy. Who the fuck would have a podcast about vaping? The dumbest thing I ever heard.
Right.
They gave me a bunch of other links to Vapors Forum and some other places where you could go online and hang out and talk to people, and I quickly learned that there was these things called vape meets. And I'll tell you, I don't know why, I was so nervous. I was so nervous at my first vape meet. And if you think about it, a vape meet is really no different than any other party. I mean, it's just a bunch of people hanging out. These people just happen to be vaping, But I was really, really nervous, and I was nervous for a while. I remember when they asked me to do a show, which I didn't even know there were vaping shows. The people at Vape TV said, "Hey, come do a show," and I said, "Well, okay, what's that?" And I looked at some shows, and I said, "Okay, well, I'll try to do something very different." But I'll tell you what, I mean, for a good year, and still sometimes now, if it's going to be like a really controversial stuff where I know people are going to be fighting, which happens on my show a lot, or sometimes. I back in the day, like I said, back in the day, I used to lose my lunch before every show. I was so nervous, and now I still do, very rarely, but I still do. So I get the nervous. You're putting yourself out there to the world, and it is a little bit intimidating, and it does rattle the nerves a bit, even still.
Oh yeah,
Wow.
and I could relate to that too, because like the first maybe 5-6 months that I was broadcasting, I was still feeling a little bit nervous. Like I would be bumbling over my words. I'd put in a lot of filler words. Since then, I mean, I actually took, I was listening to YouTube videos on how to be better at public speaking, just to help me with my vaping shows. And I still mumble around sometimes here and there, especially when you're not thinking things through before you say it, Joe, on the other hand, you just pretty much went in, went boom. You're a natural at it.
That, for me, was all mistake. Everything in my vaping, I guess, career, you could say, was all a mistake. Nothing was ever planned. When I first started vaping, my first vaping show was Vaping Mandy Cat and Cigar Babe. Vape, I was just when New Vapor watching it. It was a lot of fun. And when I started my blog and it got a little popular, Mandy Cat and Smokey were like, "You need a show." And I was like, "I don't want to do no fucking show. I'm not a guy. I don't do that." Blah blah blah. So I did a few fill-ins with Mandy, and then once you do a show and you do okay, you get, I call it the show bug. You get big.
Yeah.
And now you want to do it. And now it's like, I can't see myself not doing a show. Even if vaping, I don't know, atomic bomb went over the vaping community, we all vanished, I would do a show of some kind. I'd talk about fucking diapers or something. I don't care. But I would be out there doing some sort of show. Definitely.
Yeah, I agree. I totally agree. It's addictive.
Right, and it's so weird that you say that, Russ, that you got so nervous, because for me, when I first started vaping, and I remember I started looking around to some of the shows. Obviously, I come across some of the channels from Stickum back when we were in the Stickum days.
Yep.
I remember the first show I ever saw was Saint over at Vape TV. Great guy, and then I found out about Vape Team. From Vape Team, I found out about you. And I remember listening to your show, and I remember the first show I think I must have heard live was one of your bits. You were doing one of your bits on one of your shows, and I remember the specific bit I'm talking about. If there are people in the room that are familiar with Russ's show, he was doing a Satan bit. Basically, he was giving away stuff, but in order for people to receive the item, now guys, if you don't get insulted by this, okay? You have to understand it's all for fun, okay? It was all for fun, but basically, Satan would tell people to renounce Jesus Christ and make Satan their personal savior. Then they will receive the winnings. And I listened to that show, and I was like, this dude's the fucking shit. That's all I thought after hearing that one show. And then I pretty much became an instant fan. I was at your show pretty much every week that I could be there live on your show. And if I wasn't, I made sure I listened to like some kind of replay because I couldn't miss it. Is
it Satan or Satan?
Satan.
Because the guy's like, who's Satan?
Sorry, systems. Satan.
Lucifer, the Dark Lord.
But yeah, I mean, and not only that, it's like, if there's one thing, I don't know if all hosts do this, but I listened to some of your earlier shows, and you obviously started at Vape TV. How long did that last, being in front of a video? I guess that was a little bit more nerve-wracking because you weren't just talking, you're also showing yourself for the first time to people, correct?
Yeah, it's totally different. It's definitely a totally different experience. I started very, very soon after I started vaping. They said, hey, do a show. So I did, and I never thought about, well, it's just people do video shows, and I enjoyed it. I did, music videos and bits and visual stuff too, and I enjoyed it very much. It didn't work out because some of the content that I wanted to do was, involved topics that Vape TV didn't want to do. So there was a lot of hard feelings at the time. There's certainly absolutely none now, and I'm, those people I consider close friends at this point. So, but at the time, it was just something I wanted to do and something they didn't want to do. And Kevin from who runs the VP Live network, the same network that's got, the VP Live show, Vape Team, my show, Jeannie K, the girls from Canada, What Does the Law Say, and Jan's show. So he said, I do an audio show. He's like, I listen to your show, and I understand that there's stuff you want to do that you can't do over there. So why don't you come over here? You can still do the Vape TV show, but why don't you come over here, do an audio-only show, and do whatever you want. Anything you want. No restrictions, just go nuts. And I found it was so much easier for me to talk extemporaneously and talk about topics that I wanted to talk about that were, controversial or uncomfortable or whatever. When that camera's not on, it's easier. It's a lot easier. And when you are limited to just doing audio, you actually have a much more wide open canvas to do things. It's hard to do video things that look good. You need good equipment. You need to be good with the technology. Audio makes things simpler and also opens up a lot of opportunities to do creative things in an easier way. So I instantly loved doing the audio thing, and at that point it was kind of like at the same time Vape TV just said, hey, let's just part ways, and I think it was a good thing for both of us. But ever since then, just doing the audio, I love it, and I've just been trying to do better audio and do better radio and do better content, and it's easier to focus. So I do like having an audio-only podcast, and I think the audience likes it too because it's a lot more accessible to them. I mean, if you're going to be in front of your computer, then it doesn't really matter. It's accessible on whatever kind of computer you're on, so that's easy. But the vast majority of people aren't listening to ClickBang or any of the other content, I think, on our network. They're not listening to it live. They're listening to archives. They're listening to the broadcast. And I know just from the feedback I get, people listen in their car. That's what people tell me, at least. They're listening on their mobile phone in their car. So I like the fact that not only is it easier for me to produce it, but it's easier for the listeners to actually get it. What place do you have more free time than in your car or just walking around with your iPod in your pocket or whatever? It's just much easier to access audio than video. So I think it's worked out, and I like the format. Yeah,
and for me, it's like it kind of brings you back to like I guess a time where like people would listen to the radio, I guess, like, it could be our parents or grandparents, where they can almost visualize in their minds more, that kind of makes the experience a little bit your own when you're listening to these shows. So especially when you have bits on and stuff, it's almost like, it's very good to, like, it makes people use their imagination more, and I kind of like that because, you know what I mean?
Yeah, it's like what you were saying before, the bit with Satan. You know how expensive that would be to do with video, but with audio, I can put some sound effects off of YouTube, and all the video is just in the imagination of the audience, and there's some graphic video going on in people's heads, hopefully, when they hear Satan come on, because he's very naughty.
Now going back to controversial shows you had recently, not super recently, but within the last few months, you did one about vapors wiping their ass. Now, I didn't fully understand why you explain to the audience why you did this one. Now, Russ does some weird, freaky shit on his show. It's one of the reasons why I like his show. It's different. But he did one on vapors wiping their ass.
Well, it's really, this could be useful for anybody, but you're right about the impetus for it was, if you go to a big vape meet, you will invariably come across people who, I guess, don't really think about their personal hygiene as closely as they really should. And I
no
think this
doubt.
And this it was fresh in my mind, I guess, just because it was coming off of VaporCon, and it's any big. You get enough people in a room, you're gonna come across somebody like this. But I found, or I guess I think it happens a little bit more with vapors. I don't know why, but that's been my experience. Anyway, I was at VaporCon, and I caught a couple of whiffs, and I'm like, man, this guy doesn't know how to wipe his ass. So I'm just, and you know, this is, and I sympathize because this is something I struggled with as a child. You know, not just nobody ever really showed me how to do it right, and my method is, I don't think many people know about it unless you listen to the show. It is, yes, it is, Joe, for those dirty vapors who clearly don't know, but this could be for anybody, because I'm not going to go through the whole process now. You can just go to the ClickBang archives and you'll see how to wipe your butt properly is one of the show topics. And I'm telling you, it's not, I didn't do it as a joke. I mean, maybe you find it funny, but it was not done as a joke. The method I have and the specific paper products that I use, the whole thing, this is the best method to completely clean yourself without having like a bidet or a shower at your disposal.
Yeah, because we talked about that, Russ, a little bit. I was tweeting you about it. I was like, wait a second, I use a different method, but it's more of like an Asian method.
But an Asian method? You use chopsticks and shit, or?
No. We have we don't, in the Philippines or in Asian countries, they don't use like toilet paper. It's like foreign to us. Well, not me because I was born here, but there's like it's called a tubao, and you wash your ass.
Okay.
You literally wash your ass.
You used the 3 seashells from Demolition Man.
Yeah. And you know, if you're interested in this, I recommend it to any human being, because I think it is the best way to get yourself clean down there without actually using, you know, a bidet or a shower or whatever you're doing in the Philippines there. I do not think that there is a normal toilet paper roll on the market that is acceptable, at least for me, to clean myself after I've had an elimination. That I would not use any
an elimination.
Unless I had to, I would not use any of them. I don't think there is a toilet paper on the market that is acceptable.
Well, you want to laugh. You know, this brings up, and I know this isn't about vaping, and I know this is off topic, but fuck it. This is why we're here, right?
Exactly.
There's a website, and there is a service called the Dollar Shave Club. Now, if a man who shaves doesn't know about the Dollar Shave Club, it's one of the best websites you can go to. It's cheap. You get good razors and razor blades, blah, blah, blah. So I'm going to put a link in the room for a video called One Wipe Charlies.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, now One Wipe Charlies are literally from bottom to top butt wipes for men.
Yep.
Okay, that's what they're made for, and it's hilarious. And the guy, whoever invented the idea of Dollar Shave Club, who did the videos for the Dollar Shave Club, for the One Wipe Charlies, all that shit, he's a genius. It is one of the funniest fucking videos I've ever seen in my life.
All of their videos are great, but that one's particularly good.
You belong to the Dollar Shave Club?
I do. I am a subscriber, yes.
Yes, he is.
Yes, I am too. I love the Dollar Shave Club, and I know we're talking about vaping, but we're about shaving. But believe it or not, I found out through the Google Hangouts there's 3 things that hook vapors together. Believe it or not, there's a huge shaving straight razor community.
Oh yes.
There's a huge vaping community and a huge a flashlight battery community, and for some reason they're kind of all intertwined. Like somebody who's into vaping is either going to be into the batteries or the shaving, and they all kind of intertwine. And I see all these kind of these if you talk to Adam, Most Angry Pirate, he is an insane straight razor person. I mean, he collects them. Like I think they had verified they had Napoleon's fucking straight razor. And they sold it for
that. I used to do the whole straight razor, and I used to have the brush with the badger hair. I used to do the whole thing. I just stopped doing it just because it was just too much of a time investment. I mean, it is the best shave you can get. There's no doubt about it. But it was just too much time. So like that, I agree with you, Joe. Dollar Shave Club is unbelievable. It's like it's one less thing you have to do, and it's so much cheaper than going to the store to buy razors. It's unbelievable. And as far as the One Wipe Charlies are concerned, I tried them because they send you free stuff on their other types of products. Like I used the shave butter. I like that a lot because that was cheaper and better than the other stuff I was using as shaving cream. And I tried the One Wipe Charlies, and they're good. And I've also tried the Man Groomer butt wipes. I don't know what they call them exactly. But
are those the peppermint ones, Russ?
I never tasted them.
Well, no, the ones that smell like minty or something. Tom.
Peppermint. They got flavors now?
No, but there's this one. It's it smells minty.
They got one for men and one for women. I haven't tried the women ones, but I tried the Man Groomer and I tried the Dollar Shave Club One Wipe Charlies, and they are good, but they don't even come close to my method.
Yes, and you notice he's not saying it because he wants you to go to his archive. If somebody has a link in the room.
Yeah, Country Pammy has all the links that I gave. Please, guys, please follow his group, follow the archive. You don't have to worry about the links, Russ. I got you covered, bro. Totally got you covered. But
no, there's another great episode in ClickBang. Of course, I have to bring it up. It's the Vapor Joe Fast Tech episode. Wonderful, one of the best.
Yeah. No, it really is. Here, just in case, just to have your whoever's doing the links for you, that's the specific one about how to wipe your butt properly. So there.
All right, hold on a second. Let me grab that.
But
one.
Yeah, no, the Vapor Joe, both Vapor Joe shows were fantastic because just there was fighting, but the second one, I prefer the second one, Joe. Even though it wasn't as controversial, people were just calling in to bust your balls and. It was phenomenal. I just thought it was really laid back and funny, and it didn't seem to bother you, so you were just kind of rolling with it. Those were 2 of my favorite shows for sure. They were really, really entertaining. Yeah.
Yeah, one thing I have to, for those who haven't watched ClickBang, or even heard of ClickBang, most of you have though. Russ doesn't have a huge show. He doesn't have 1,000 viewers over. He's small, 150, 200, about the same amount of viewers we have here right now.
Mm-hmm.
But for some reason, when you're called to ClickBang, you have to go to ClickBang. Meaning, if Russ calls you for whatever you did wrong or something you have to defend, or if you're going in to solve a problem, you have to show up. Because if you don't, for some reason, that little show in comparison to other shows, somehow, like a fungus, just kind of everybody hears about it. Yet nobody's, you know what I mean? There's 10,000 people who hear about it, but during the show, only 2 or 300 people will show up. But if you're called, you have to go to defend yourself and or be on the offense for whatever you're complaining about. But people ask me, well, why did you go? Why did you go to do this? It's just some show. And I said, well, because it's the only show that does this.
It's Russ, basically. That's the only reason why you do it.
That does this. If there was 50 shows doing the controversial stuff, then I could understand it. But Russ is the only one doing it. But I came up with a cool idea, and maybe you guys could over at VP Live can do this because it doesn't seem like anybody really has the time. But vaping court, where you get two parties, one's bitching about the other, and you have Russ or somebody full gavel, robe, everything on video, and it's like Judge Wapner time for vaping, and they do their grievances, and at the end the host or whoever is the judge makes a decision, and both parties have to abide by it. I think that would be cool.
I think that would be really popular. You just got to have. Well, you guys may be a little bit more plugged into all the controversial stuff that goes on, because I don't have the patience to go through a 200-post Facebook chain. But as long as there's enough disputes out there, I think that would be incredibly popular and entertaining. I think that's a wonderful idea.
How do you go about finding your content for your show? Now, not specifically like a call to action or something, but I mean like a controversy in the community. How do you go about and go, okay, that's what I'm doing on Tuesday?
It's a really good question. For that kind of content, this is not for any of you that haven't listened, this is not a weekly thing. It happens, and when it happens, it tends to be explosive for whatever reason. Most weeks I don't have a fist fight, and in terms of that content, I guess to answer that part of your question, that's just whatever I find really interesting. Now, as far as the more controversial stuff where people are going to fight and yell and stuff like that, I try to find things where somebody really got wronged. Something bad really happened to somebody, like whether they got screwed out of a money or a mod or something like that. And I feel that the story needs to be told really as like a public service to other vapors, and if not that, then something that's just affecting a lot of people that it would be interesting to have both sides in one place on it. For some reason, people feel comfortable coming here. You would think more people turn down when something goes up, but they want their voice to be heard, and I'll let both sides of any argument have it out, and try to be fair about it. So I guess it has to be. I try to get the stuff that's important. Like some guy, won a mod off a show, and it's been 2 weeks and he hasn't gotten it. No, I'm not particularly interested in that. But some guy took 20 orders, and it's been 3 months and they haven't gotten a product. Yeah, I think that's newsworthy.
Well, you know what? That just brings me to my next point, and I guess since both of you are in here, you can relate. But I'm specifically asking this for you, Russ, and Joe. You can interject if you want afterwards. But some of these controversies that you inform the vaping community about. Now, listen. Granted, people have called you a hack, called you an instigator, saying people have told you in the past that you're not informing the community. You are dividing the community with some of the stuff that you're bringing up. And this has been told to you anytime in the past couple of years, regardless of the situation. But because of that, certain negative things were happening to you in your past. I mean, there are times where you have even gotten threatened,
Yes.
because of it. I mean, and I know you explained on your show how you handled, but if you could just share a little bit of this insight of how you handled some of these situations.
Well, that one you're talking about was a long time ago, and that was back right at the beginning when I was doing the program. It was a small community 4 years ago, 3.5-4 years ago. It was small. Everybody knew everybody, and there really wasn't a lot of technology out there. I mean,
right.
All the vaping gear was extremely primitive. What you wanted to do with vaping technology back then is just figure out how to make something work. I mean, it was hard. It was hard to get a good vape back then. Now it's hard not to. Even with shitty products, you get a good vape on them. So back then, some of the controversy, it was just I did make it a little bit about me. There wasn't much else to talk about, and there was some shit going on. So at the beginning, it was like that. But since then, there's no reason for. I don't generally get personally involved in this kind of stuff anymore. I just have a boxing ring, So as far as dividing the community and conjuring up this is stuff that was already out there.
Right.
I just have a place where people can have it out, where for whatever reason it works well. I think just because of the talk radio type format with a phone line call, and people, it's accessible to people.
And I was kind of on your side because I felt that people were saying this to you out of spite, saying that to you, because a lot of the issues that you were bringing up needed to be brought up in the community. So for people who didn't know what was going on, they needed to know what was going on, because if we are in this together, we need to know all the shit that's going on, good or bad. And that's one thing you got balls of steel. That's one thing I have to say about you. You know, Joe, no, you know, you're pretty much the same way, but specifically Russ, I'm like, damn it, man. Like, listening to some of your shows, like, yeah, and I understand what you say by now, saying that you're more of, like, the referee in a boxing ring. And it's funny, like, there was a certain week I was actually on the road, and I was listening to your show from my phone. It was the only way I could listen to your show, because I couldn't miss it, because there's this person, Joe, Russ, you guys know who I'm talking about, this crazy woman that was going around, and, you know, like,
Does it begin with a C and end with a C?
It may begin with a C and end with a C. And Russ brought in people from both sides, let everybody talk, including people, you know, and you were literally kind of just laid back and just let it unfold. And I think you're a master at that, of bringing in the components you need to discuss the issue and just letting it unfold, and you're almost just like the moderator at that point.
Yeah. It's just, I like to see a fair fight.
Absolutely. And, you know, and Joe, like, just on the same par, like, have you ever been faced with anything like that? Also, like,
Sure.
threatened for some of the stuff that you've been doing.
When the ClickBank controversy first came out, and I was doing the show. Months after that, you know, I had groups of people trying to take my blog down, they called the that's not the FC. I don't know if it's the FCC, DFC. I forget who it is. Whoever dictates how blogs and advertising works online. They tried to do all kinds of stuff. They posted my name, my address, my social security number, how much my house is worth, where I live. You know, they all for everybody to see, which kind of pissed me off. And I was never, you know, threatened like, we're gonna kill you, because they know they better bring a gun because I'll fucking destroy them. But they tried to personally, you know, embarrass and shame and all this other shit, and that doesn't work for me. People, words and text don't hurt me. So for me, it wasn't as I don't know if Russ personally got death threats, but that never happened to me, thankfully.
It was pretty close to that. The only time, I know what you're saying, Joe, I actually like it when people make negative comments, because it makes people say, hey, what's going on?
Exactly.
And then they'll get over and listen. So I don't mind negative. I frankly prefer negative comments. No, I mean, I like it when somebody says, hey, I really enjoyed your show. That's very nice. But if someone publicly posts, doesn't do any good if they just send it to me, but if they publicly post on Facebook or Reddit or Twitter or whatever, like, this guy's scum of the earth and look at what he just did, well, they're going to look, you know? So I don't mind that. The only thing that bothered me ever was when some anonymous person went on Reddit and accused me of likening electronic cigarette regulation to the Holocaust. That's the only thing that ever bothered me. Only, you know, and maybe it's because I don't have a lot of my family because of the Holocaust. So for someone to suggest that I did that is the only thing ever that infuriated me. But other than that, no, talk shit all you want. I love it.
You know, me too. You know, CB Cigar Babe, who's on this network too. She made a good point yesterday. We were gonna hang out talking, and she goes, you know, I don't care if people talk shit, as long as they don't lie. Yeah. As long as they don't say, like, you know, Joe murdered somebody or Joe stole money from a bank or something, you know, because that's just a bold-faced lie. If you want to make fun of something, I do, and I'm very open about it. I have no problem with it. But when you lie, that pisses me off, because you're just, you know, especially when there's nothing to back it up, you know, and thankfully nobody's done that. Nobody's actually ever lied about me, I don't think, but it's just, but when people do lie about other people, or they're like, I've heard, you know, from a source that blah, 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 that's just fucked up, and that I don't like.
Yeah.
You know, and that just brings me up to my next point. I just think that if, you know, there's one thing that I could look at, you know, of course, Russ and Joe, I could definitely see this, is that we're just blatantly honest. You guys are, you know, we're honest. You have to be honest in this community, because the second that you lie about something, it will be found out. Trust me, it will be found out, and you're gonna pay. You know, at least that's just from the seeing what's been going on in the community the past couple weeks. And it's not like a warning. It's not. I'm just saying, why bullshit yourself in this community? I mean, like, we're all in this together, and this is to me, this is probably one of the best things I've ever come across. You know,
The community overall is good. It's very more so than the general population, I'd say by a long shot.
Mm-hmm.
They're generally just enthusiasts who want to help, which is why it's so bizarre when you do. A lot of the times you see people making stuff up. It's about the dumbest stuff. It's about the weirdest thing. And I think you guys probably. I saw something recently that happened on your network, and I was just like, what's wrong with this guy? He's lying about just things that don't matter. That just making stuff up for the pure sake of attention. It seems odd. It happened, and unfortunately, it's that kind that happens more than people screwing people out of money. Although that happens also.
Mm-hmm.
You really got to wonder,
Well, it's the self-important, righteous vapor that they're all trying to carve. Well, not everybody. I mean, the ones that are trying to carve out a name for themselves, and they point fingers and they're like, "Look what I did! I found this person out," or "I'm," they just call attention to really dumb. I was on the TVA and I did my interview with the TVA show. They asked me if there's anything you could change in the vaping community, what would it be? And it is the self-important, self-righteous vapor, who just, like I said, it's like the vendor screwed up. They sent them the wrong nick level, or they sent them the wrong bottle of juice, and you would think they fucking stabbed their sister in the neck with a pencil.
Mm-hmm.
But all it was a screw up at the order, and they're on every Facebook group. They're spamming everywhere about how this vendor wronged them, and I'm like, calm down, man. It's just some juice, and that's the only people in the community I really don't like. It's just calm down, because if you're like this in the vaping community, what do you like in real life?
Probably nothing like that, actually, because people don't have the balls. Most people don't have the balls to to actually walk up to the guy at the gas station who gave them wrong change and get in their face. But behind a keyboard, it's easy.
Keyboard cowboys, man. Gotta love it, man. But and that's another perception like that I kind of want to show here is that your perception, like the way you handle your show, it's pretty much the same way you've been handling your show for the past couple of years, Russ. But when people actually meet you, it's almost like they're surprised at who you are. Like you come across in person, like my first time out, you come across a really cool guy. Like, hey, what's up? How's it going? And like they're like, that's the same fucking dude on Tuesday night. Do you get that a lot?
Oh yes, very very often, and it's somewhat accurate. I mean, first of all, I don't sound like this. The voice you're hearing is through many pieces of electronics. So, and that's what I hear too. So I'm not hearing what's in my headphones right now is not what I hear when I'm normally talking. So that changes everything for me right there. It kind of like takes me a little bit out of myself, and the fact that I'm just out there in internet land talking to people and nobody can see me, that changes things too. So I do go into a little bit of a different state, and I do blow off. It's the one time a week where I blow off a lot of steam, where I don't yell normally during the week, not in anger, maybe for fun, but like actually yelling and shouting and talking about things that are important to me in a way that, where are you going to do that in real life unless you're just talking to yourself? Just the format of it makes it easier for me. And yes, the if you were to meet me in person, you'd probably get a different person. Somebody probably what you're listening to now. This doesn't feel to me like I'm doing my show right now at all. It's very relaxed and
yeah.
and everything. But during my show, I almost go into like a little world, and I'm different during it. There's no question about it. It's not that I'm trying to be. It's just that's just what comes out during that hour on Tuesday.
Yeah, I remember meeting you for the first time, and you were a very calm, reserved, quiet person. You'd never know, like if somebody just said that's the, if nobody ever saw you and heard you talk, and they said, oh, that's the guy from Clickbang, like, really? Because you're just completely different person in person. Me, on the other hand, I'm exactly the same person as I am on screen. I'm just as animated. If you ever see me at a vape show, I never sit down. I never sit. I'm everywhere. I'm walking table, talking to people, doing stuff. So there's a huge difference between Russ on Clickbang and Russ in person. I think that's good because if you piss somebody off and they don't know what you look like, you'll
That happens. It happens all the time. Many a time I'm at a vape meet and I'm just talking to somebody, and then like the next day or later that day they'll be like, "I didn't know you were Russ," because it doesn't sound like me, and obviously you can't see me, and obviously I'm behaving slightly differently or a lot differently. So that's fun too. I like the fact that people don't know what I look like in general, so that when I go to a vape meet, they're just talking to me, and they might be even a regular listener and don't really know. It's kind of cool.
So it's almost in a way like in a sense, keep your anonymity in the middle of the crowd of people who hate you. In a sense, it's like, hey, what's up, guys? You walk away, and they're like, "That's Russ, that son of a bitch." But by that time, you're 50 miles away, laughing your way home. You're like, "I just had a great time."
Now, here's an interesting question, Russ. You've been vaping 4 years. Me and Rich have only been vaping 2 years and change. So you've seen a lot of stuff happen, but you've seen there's always trends in the vaping community. You have your heavyweights in the community one day, and they're no longer the heavyweights the next day. You have shows that are popular one day, they're no longer popular the next. Now, obviously, since you started your shows, a lot has changed in terms of shows. A lot has changed in terms of media for vaping. We're on a vaping-only, vaperstea.tv is a vaping-only site for shows. Have you? I mean, what is it like? Being where you are, you're over at VP Live, and knowing now there's a whole network, vapors.tv, that's dedicated to, I don't know, right now we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13 right now, vaping networks going on. Right now there's 13 separate vaping members doing shows. What do you think of how it's changed, and will VP Live start doing any more, you think, in the future, do any more video shows to keep up? I mean, because you got to change, you got to roll with the times.
Maybe. I mean, all that would be necessary for VP Live to have another video show would be somebody who can do a good content-based show, because that's all we do. Right. If somebody wanted to do a content-based video show, then great. I mean, we have the Vape team. They do a great job. If somebody else wanted to, I wouldn't see a problem with that at all. I mean, I don't run the network, but I know Kevin just wants good content. That's all he wants. So we are not an audio network or one day would be a video network. We just want however you want to do your show, whatever the format is. If it's audio, video, or something I'm not even thinking of a way to do a show, then great. There is no preference. As far as how things have changed, I'm not a great person to ask that, Joe, because I am not that aware of what everyone else is doing. I watch something generally. I barely have enough time to watch or listen to all of the shows on VP Live. I mean, there's a show every night. I mean, my favorite show on VP Live is Anti-Nanny with Raven Grimm, which is a show that has nothing to do with vaping. It is not a vaping show. It is a libertarian show, which is kind of like I try to make that at least a portion of my show every week too. Rarely is my show 100% about vaping. More commonly, I'd put it at half at best. I talk about other things that are interesting to me. Lately, it's been a lot of libertarian issues, police state abuses, stuff like that. And that's not for everybody. Some people, they just want to go somewhere and they want to learn about vaping technology, vaping culture, win some stuff. That you're not going to get that at ClickBang, and that's fine. But the way things have changed, you would know better than me, to be quite honest. I mean, when I started, there was Stickam networks, and they were all kind of doing roughly the same things. Obviously, all the different hosts bring a little bit of, bring something different to the table. But, I don't know. I don't have enough time to really see what else is out there. I know there's more out there. I know that it's a whole lot. There's a lot more vendor support these days, which I think is great. There's a lot more ways for vendors to get their products out there through shows, through giveaways. I think that's a very, very good thing. There was less of that happening back in the early days, just because there were fewer vendors and fewer places to do it. You honestly, Joe, you know better than me.
It's funny because I just did what a lot of people do to me. People are, they think I know everybody, and or know certain things about the community, and I have no clue. Like somebody's like, oh, you know that guy he runs blah 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 blah. I'm like, I have no idea who you're talking about. Well, do you know that guy? Da, da, da? And I'm like, I have no idea who you're talking about.
Yeah,
For some reason, everybody is now. Rich knows everybody. Rich truly knows everybody. He'll be like, hey Joe, you know the guy who owns the brick and mortar in Tennessee and blah blah blah. And I'll be like, I have no idea who you're talking about.
Yeah,
if it's not a deal, I don't know.
I know what you mean, because like Dimitri from Vape Team, like he is so plugged in to everything that's going on. It blows my mind how he is able to keep up with everything. I don't understand it. All I know is like when there's something I'm interested in and I see a Facebook post with 250 replies on it, I just say, Dimitri, what's going on here? And he boils it down for me in a paragraph. And I'm like, okay, thanks. I don't know how he does it, but he does. And Rich is the same way. It's interesting, yeah.
I think that's funny. Like, well, actually, I'm gonna try to get Dimitri on my show down the line, but he's a busy guy. But I'll just say this one thing about Dimitri. I remember the time that we were talking online and stuff before we met for the first time at VaporCon 2. What was that? Over a year ago. It seemed that if there was one person that was really plugged in with everybody was going, it was him, and he was surprised by how quickly I was plugging in everybody. That's because of what I do for a living, And it's weird because even though, Joe, you're very big, you're an entrepreneur, you're very good with marketing, social media, everything. To me, it was like marketing and advertising for corporations. That was what I was breathing. So it was like I was helping doing work for other people, And in a sense, I would guinea pig on myself. And that's why certain people in the community, when I first came around, thought that I was just a marketeer and I was out to profit off the community. Certain people who names I shall not name drop actually were trying to dig up shit about me to say to debunk me. He's like, he's not a vapor, he's just trying to make money, blah blah blah. For what? It took this guy like over a year to finally acknowledge the fact that maybe he is a vapor. You know what? Whoever you are, you know who you are. Fuck you. That's all I gotta say.
Oh my God! Have you ever said that on your show before, Rich?
Never.
Bang and Vapor Joe.
You know what? I guess with Russ on my show, I have a little bit of balls. So, but that's how I felt. I just needed to get that out. So.
You know what? I think I can actually answer Joe's question a little bit better now that you kind of said that. The biggest difference, I think, Joe, it isn't really in terms of the shows. It's just in terms of social media in vaping. Way back when, all of the activity was in two places. Vapor Swarm, which is now basically 100% dead. Everything was Vapor Swarm and ECF. Nobody was doing much on Facebook. There was very, very little. Reddit was just barely starting for electronic cigarettes. There was some activity on Twitter, actually a decent amount of activity on Twitter, but for the most part, ECF, Vapor Swarm. You want to know what's going on? It's all there. Today, people like to hang out in different places. There's people that never leave Facebook. There's people that never leave Reddit. And there's still those people that absolutely still live on ECF. That has all just melded, and now there's more forums that are more geographically positioned and things like that, and the whole advent of Facebook groups and how that's kind of taken over how people communicate on Facebook. I think that's the biggest difference in the community from going back a few years ago today. I don't think it's so much the shows. I think most of the socialization is done in these various social media platforms. That's the biggest change for me. It's become more specific in terms of the technology and the culture and the geography of vaping, and there's just more of everything and places to go to find it. Whereas back in the day, you went to two places, you were done. Now there's 200 places at least. That's probably pretty conservative.
That's the first place I went to as a new vapor was ECF. But I've learned that ECF, the idea of it's good. The people there are nice, the regular people. But man, those moderators could be a bunch of freaking Nazis. I mean, it's really rough over there. I mean, every vapor I know that's been over 3 years has been banned at least once from there.
I remember the first time I ever got a warning or an infraction or whatever you call it on ECF was when ClickBank still had video, and I posted a replay to my show, and one of the things I played, I just thought it was a Victoria's Secret's fashion show. Literally, that's what it was, and it had a really cool song playing behind it. So I play a lot of music on the show, so here we have like this really cool song and these beautiful women wearing lingerie. Like, this isn't porn. It's not even softcore porn. There's people aren't even touching each other. It's women walking down a runway with outfits, you know.
Right.
So that was a part of my show, and I posted the replay on ECF, and the moderator said, you know, they took it down. They took the post down, and I got a warning for posting inappropriate content. And I was like, "What are you talking about?" And I don't, because that show was, I thought it was pretty tame. And they said, "Well, no, you're degrading women by parading them around on a runway." And I'm like, "Are you kidding? Is your skin really that thin, or why even listen? You know, why even watch at that point?" It's just, but some people they take this so seriously, even when it doesn't have anything to do with vaping. People, they just everybody wants to have an opinion. The problem kind of starts when you give those people with an opinion a delete button also.
Yeah, no, I hear you. I mean, like, and I guess it just goes to show that there's different formats for different people. ECF, they do it their way. Obviously, you talked about Reddit before, which I'm beginning to delve in a little bit more again. Like, I've been in Reddit for like 5 years, and I've never really used it that much. I usually use it to lurk and read about different things. Nothing having to do with the e-cig industry or like, but the electronic cigarette Reddit has grown dramatically in like just over a year, and there's a lot of information that you can get from there that you can get it on Facebook, but it's cool to get it from Reddit because there's a lot of people in tune. There's like almost like another sector of the vaping community that's in tune to Reddit, and they use that as their main form of, you know, showing their vape porn, talking about issues, talking about new products. I mean, heck, I found out about the Cave one through Reddit. I didn't find out about the Cave one through Facebook or anything. First time I ever heard about the Cave one ever. I mean, I still don't have one, just because I'm so enamored by pro tanks.
Even I have a K-Fun, and I don't even rebuild very much. What the hell's wrong with you?
Because I love my pro tanks so much. I mean, but Russ, you're using K-Funs now. I mean, you like it, you know.
Oh, yeah.
And then like that's pretty much a lot of people in the community. It's either they love K-Funs or they love pro tanks, and now there's the Aspire. You know, it's just easier and easier to have an amazing vape. And no, I don't hate building Tinker. I have sub-ohms here. I got coils. I don't completely hate them. I'm just saying, you know, different strokes for different folks.
Everybody will tell you I hate rebuilding. I think I'm the laziest vaper on the face of the earth. Fill and vape for me, thank you very much. Reddit definitely has its own. I believe there's 3 communities. You have the Reddit community. They have their own. They have all their own hierarchy. They have their own heroes. They have their own vape shops. They have their own rules. Then you have what I'll call our vaping community, which is Facebook, Google Hangouts, Vapers TV. And then you have the good old boys club, which is the older school vapors that are still tight-knit. The people you need to know to get into that kind of group. You know, you got to kiss butt to kind of learn information. It's like a commission of all the old-timers that still just do things their way. And they're all very relevant, and they're all very important. They just like to fight with one another a lot because they're all jockeying for position to be the best community of the 3. You know what I mean? And unfortunately, we do fight a lot, because everybody thinks their way's better. But in the end, I think if there was something really important, a true ban coming or something serious coming down the pipe, I think everybody would kind of get together and forget about the old qualms, because if something serious, it's going to destroy all 3 communities. So we would all kind of like, enemy of my enemy is my friend kind of thing. You know what I mean?
Yeah. But Reddit is definitely the hardest to figure out, I think. I think most of the people who come into the Reddit electronic cigarette community, I think a lot of them were just very active on Reddit in general in things that have nothing to do with vaping, and then they're like, oh, I'm a smoker and here's electronic cigarettes, or someone told me about electronic cigarettes, so naturally they go to their own environment and say, let's see what there is in Reddit world on electronic cigarettes, and that's how they find it. That's not how I found it. I found it as somebody said, there's a Reddit EC electronic cigarette community, and first question was, what is Reddit? And second, okay, what's the link? And I just went there. And now I actually, so I came in backwards into it a little bit, and after spending some time in the electronic cigarette community on Reddit, you start to branch out into the other things. I use Reddit for today, I use the time I spend on Reddit, the minority of it is in the ECR group, in the electronic cigarette community group. Most of what I'm using Reddit for now is stuff for politics, for world news, for libertarian.
Oh, that must be, Russ. That must be incredible. I mean, if the subreddit of the electronic cigarettes is so heated, what is it like for the libertarian/politics section of Reddit? It must be insane.
It's not what you think, believe it or not. It's hard to explain, but I guess the point I was going towards is it's hard. Reddit has its own language and hierarchy and format that is different than any of the other things we've talked about, and it's hard to get the hang of it, and it's hard to understand how people like things presented, and it's also hard for, I think, a lot of people who are used to just, on a Facebook thread typing in LOL with a smiley face. You're not going to get very far on Reddit doing that. No one will see that because it will get downvoted, and the things that have real content and a real opinion will get up. So people aren't used to that, and they're not understanding why people can't see their stuff. It's because you actually have to put effort into it if you want people to actually read your stuff. The other groups, it's different. I think people in those other politics or other special hobbyist things that are on Reddit, I think the general competency of the people in those groups is higher than the general competency of what people in the ECR group are. There's a lot of noobs there, and there's a lot of people who frankly think they know more than what they do, not about technology, but about activism and the legal stuff. I think the technology part of electronic cigarettes on Reddit, there is a very, very high level of experts, really, people who really know what they're doing. When you go to the legal end of it and the activism end of it, it is in the dark ages, I still think. But I think that's different than other things. I think that the libertarian stuff I've seen on Reddit, these people they got their. I'm the noob, I joined the Libertarian Party in 1998. I go to those forums. I'm the noob. They know more than me somehow. But
speaking of that, Russ, just to answer a question, is there a good resource for people who don't understand the libertarian movement that they can go to? I know I don't want to delve too much into politics here, just out of respect, but is there like a good general resource for somebody who absolutely has no idea what it is and this train of thought where they can go to? I know there's the show that Nikki and Corey do on Friday, which is pretty good. Mm-hmm. They talk about vaping a little bit. I don't have the link here offhand, but they do a show Fridays at 10. And I remember because you first were pimping that when it first came out. That could be like a good resource. It's almost like bridging the gap between vaping and libertarianism, I would say, because they do talk a little bit about vaping sometimes on it, but not too much. It's not the major focus, obviously. But
I think if you were interested, if someone said to me, where do I find out more about libertarianism, I think where I would send people is reason.com, which has not really... I'm not going to say it has nothing to do with vaping. Actually, Reason... And you know what? I totally take that back. Because Reason was covering electronic cigarettes in very, very early 2009. Mm-hmm. I don't think you could find the number of people who were vaping in like February of 2009, which is when Reason started covering electronic cigarettes. I bet you not a single person listening right now was vaping in February of 2009. Yet
I wasn't.
They picked it up because they saw this was something that the government was going to come after hard and fast. The writer by the name of Jacob Solom, who I've had on my show quite a few times, he saw this and he jumped on it and he said they're going to come down on this, so let's start covering it. So there is actually quite a bit of coverage of electronic cigarettes on Reason, but that is definitely not the primary motive. If you like videos, they've got a great YouTube channel called Reason.tv, and if you like reading about articles of things that are going on, hands down, Reason.
I'm looking at Reason right now. Did you know they banned upskirt pictures in Massachusetts?
No, I think they said it was legal.
Oh, did they make it? Wait, hold on.
I think the judge said it was okay.
No. Well, it just says Massachusetts legislature passes ban on upskirt photos.
Oh, I read it wrong then.
So, ladies and gentlemen, no more upskirt photos in well, somebody's saying it's legal. I'm just reading the article. It just says whatever. But if that's the case, I'm not going to Massachusetts anymore. I like my upskirt photo.
Well, you know what? I'm not going to delve into like advocacy too much and ask you, but obviously we know that we've been dealing with a major shitstorm in the past. We're in March, right? We're in March, and now it's like now we have e-cigs are being treated like tobacco in New York, Chicago, and now as of this week, Los Angeles.
And Jersey. Don't forget Jersey's been there since before them all.
Right, that's true. I'm sorry. My apologies on that. And, I'm just thinking that, it's good to listen to your show about because I know you're a very big advocate. You try to make it to, like, all of these hearings. You'll take days off of work. You're very, very, very passionate about it to that point, And, like, my hat's off to you. I mean, like, there are times where I couldn't even go when you're like, we need to go. And...
Yeah. Somebody has to do it because if nobody does anything, everything will become illegal. And it would have been by now if there wasn't a very, very small group of people in 2009 and 2010 that were doing an enormous amount of heavy lifting. The FDA back then, they were seizing shipments. Small companies were having, and think about this. Back then, a company, doing maybe $1 million in sales. Maybe. That's a big maybe. Way back then. Is having, $20,000, $30,000 shipments seized from China by the FDA. That's what was going on back then. And only because of the heavy lifting done by those advocates, a handful of them, did they finally, stave that off until we got to the point where we are today, where things are about to happen. You wouldn't have heard about e-cigs if all that shit stuck that was going on back in the day. And the reason, Rich, why we're seeing so many more bans and so many more anti-e-cig rhetoric pop up, they were expecting the same thing we were, which was deeming regulations from the FDA to come out late last year, and they just didn't because of the shutdown and other things, and then it was just postponed again. But everyone, including us, including them, were expecting it. They got a lot of money, and they were pushing real hard on this. So it was very heavy, and you can probably expect in another 2 months another surge from the antis. And I don't blame you for, it's an interesting topic to me and the most important topic to me, but I know it's one of the least important topic to vapors because most do nothing. Most don't lift a finger. Most have done, haven't sent a single tweet, a single email, made a single phone call. Even if the thing is happening in their own backyard, we know vendors who haven't lifted a finger. This Connecticut thing that happened, which could have been one of the worst things ever if some people didn't show up and do something about it. There was a Connecticut vendor who was contacted, said, hey, you really got to get down for this because, if this passes, you won't be able to sell anything with nicotine. That's the way the law was accidentally, it appears, worded. But still, that would have been the law. The vendor was like, well, I'm really busy. And you're just like, well, guess what? You're about to have a lot of fucking free time because, this is going down. And even then, they don't believe it. And if a vendor who has their livelihood invested in a store doesn't believe that this shit is real, well then, the guy who's just casually buying an Ego and a Clearo, it's unlikely to motivate him either.
Why do you think it's been this so long for the FDA?
Well, it's partially because of what they are forced to do. But like I said, way back when, they were literally allowed to intercept a shipment of electronic cigarette equipment and take it away and not give it back and say, fuck you. That was legal. And it was only when Judge Leon, a federal judge, finally said, you have no authority, he said to the FDA, you have no authority to deal with these as if they are a drug delivery device, and instead now you are going to have to deal with them as a tobacco product. So when there's a lot of confusion especially with newer vapors these days, they are wondering why in God's name is the federal government looking at these things as a tobacco product or a modified use tobacco product when everybody knows there's no tobacco in an e-cig, just nicotine, and they're wondering why. Well, it's because of Judge Leon, and it's not an ideal situation for sure, but it's the only thing that saved us from just being completely regulated into obscurity. That would have ended it. It would have been over back then, and you would have never heard from vaping again if he didn't do that. If he didn't say you have to deal with this as a tobacco product. So then that takes a lot longer because the guidelines are already in place for drug delivery devices. That's all, patch gum, lozenge, pills. That's all. That's a clear line that you have to go down. E-cigarette companies would have had to do, and they wouldn't have because it's too expensive and it just would have gone away. So it's taken the FDA a long time to get their shit together. I don't know why it's taken so many years for them to get their shit together, but for whatever reason, I guess it's complicated to write thousands of pages of text to say, here are the rules you have to follow. I know that they tried something. They put something forward very, very recently, which got objected by the oversight committee that has to deal with it. So it's going to be a few more months. I guess the short answer, Joe, that the reason why it's taken so long, it's just they had a process for dealing with nicotine-related things, and thanks to a very, very good judge, he forced them to completely reinvent the process, which has obviously taken them several years to do and is still not complete. Which is a good thing. I mean, the one thing it's done, despite the difficult position we're in now, having to deal with the fact that these, like it or not, are going to be dealt with as a tobacco product of some sort. That bought us 2 years to let this industry grow and flourish and grow exponentially, because now what we didn't have before was numbers. We had a few enthusiasts, and thank God one rational judge, and that's all that it took to get. And that was a lot, but that's what it took to get us to this point several years later, where we actually have like a real powerful user base, where even though only 5% of the people are lifting a finger, that 5% is 1,000% more actual humans doing it.
Right.
Back today. We would have never had that.
And and there are people in the room that are saying that Stereo Dreamer, you make a lot of good points that you were telling us in the room, especially about how a lot of people seem to be ignorant, lazy, don't want to lift a finger, but it's not that hard these days, because it's almost like a lot of us that want to read up on this, we're trying to spoon feed it to all the other vapors through Facebook groups. We're putting up posts about things that are happening, so it's not that hard. It's a little bit more accessible to find out this information. Plus, there's more media coverage on it. You type in vaping in Google, you'll get at least like 2 or 3 new articles a day about what's going on in terms of advocacy or whatnot. And not only that, what I personally do is I go to my personal, like my congressman, my local congressman, which is probably, he doesn't know what party it is. He's like they consider him the most liberal Republican in the House, and that's Congressman Gibson. Okay, I run into him at the local Stewart's gas station every once in a blue moon when he's in town. And now he knows my name because I've written him emails, his people on his staff, to the point where he actually got a response back from him just because I was asking questions about what was going on. Because me as a citizen, I thought it was my right to ask my congressman about what's going on in the House, in terms of is this being talked about, and if there's something that I'm willing to share, that if there's something that I find out that's worthy of sharing, then I'll share it with people. Not much right now, not much more than what you can get right now in a lot of the articles. I guess they're a little bit hush-hush, just like you were saying, Russ, because, they're redoing the process. And, in a sense, that's good for us. We're creating jobs. This industry is creating a lot of jobs for people, There's a win-win.
I think there's a perception out there that is wrong, that people think that the way that you get involved with advocacy is by going to City Hall and speaking out for your rights, and that's certainly one way to do it, and that's what you have to do when it gets to that point, or somebody has to do it. But there is a lot that happens before it's going in front of City Hall. There's a lot of opinion making that happens that can be done with relatively little effort. Simply doing what you just said, Rich, just picking up the phone or writing an email to your representative, to your congressman, your state senator, whatever it is, pick one of them. If you only got time to do one thing, just say, hey, what do you think about e-cigs? Just start a dialogue with someone. And what you're actually doing when you're doing that is, to a politician, they at that point aren't looking at you as an individual. They are looking at you as somebody who represents 5,000, 10,000, 20,000, depending on the size of your district and all that stuff, a percentage of the population. That's what they're looking at you as, because they're getting, at the end of the day, the way a lot of these politicians make decisions, they're not particularly informed on all that many issues. They don't they don't know all the intricacies about everything that they're doing. But what they do know is that they have an imaginary scale in front of them, where on this one I've gotten this many phone calls, I've gotten this many emails, I've got some faxes, and I've got so here's a big pile over here. And now on the other side, well, nobody's called about this, so I'm going to go with the heavier pile. That's how politicians make a lot of decisions. They don't have the time to get really informed about all this stuff. No politician is going to go back and listen to me or you talk about what Judge Leon did in 2009. That might be marginally interesting to your listeners right there. It is of no interest whatsoever to your representative. But if you just make a phone call, even if that phone call is 30 seconds, and you just say to them, electronic cigarettes are really important to me, and I wonder how you feel about them. It doesn't really matter what happens after that, because it's just another tick on that side. It's just another piece of paper on that pile, and it's going to help them make a decision one way or another. So you don't have to be super involved. You don't have to get in your car and go to City Hall. A tweet, a phone call, an email, all of the things that take 5 seconds to do, just do that often enough, and you're making a huge difference and doing more than 95% of the people out there, and it's ensuring your rights and freedoms down the line. Amen.
Jesus. You know, when you get fired up, you have a great way of speaking. You do. It's refreshing to hear. I'm not saying most people don't have that, but when you speak with passion, it's actually a pretty damn good thing.
Thank you.
Yeah, not only that, and just guys, I mean, like, okay, it may sound like I'm tuning Russ's horn a little bit, but like when I was talking about at the beginning of the interview, when you guys didn't catch it, like how I felt like I grew up, even though we grew up in the same town, we went to the same schools. I was differently. Russ was a good student. He's extremely intelligent. He went to what people would consider in the SUNY system, like the Ivy League of SUNY schools. I couldn't get in if my life depended on it, you know. I wound up having to go to a 2-year school and then get my associates and then finally get into a 4-year school because I didn't give a shit as much in high school like you did, you know. So it just goes to show that like intelligence does work in a lot of ways. It's a matter of how you use it, and I think you use your intelligence quite well.
Well, thanks. But normally I'm just making dick jokes. You know that.
So let's get on the topic of something a little bit more fun. Let's talk about dating within the vaping community. I know. Poor Rich isn't dating a vapor right now, but
I was, but not anymore.
You were, yes. Well, actually, you could talk about it because you were dating a vapor. I'm with Tiger from Vape Canada, and I believe Russ is with Janae, Vape Girl.
Absolutely.
Okay. Now, do you find it different? Is this the first vapor known vapor? Because she's a known vapor. She's not just a vapor. She's a known vapor. She puts herself out there. She does videos. People know of her, whether good or bad. Janae is a well-known vapor. Mm-hmm. Is it different for dating somebody who's known in the community? Is this the first time you've dated somebody who's known in the community?
Yes, definitely the first time I've dated. I've been in a relationship with another vapor. I don't know. I honest to God, Joe, before Janae, I haven't had a girlfriend in the better part of 10 years. Really. I mean, maybe not 10, but 7 or 8 probably was the last time I was in a serious relationship. So it's hard for me to really even compare it to anything else. But, we talk about vaping sometimes, like, hey, I got this thing, check it out. But it's not a major part of our relationship, really.
Really?
Yeah.
I know it's definitely a serious part of yours, Joe.
Vaping is my relationship. I mean, Tiger does Vapor Joe's Canada. I do Vapor Joe's. She's that's all we do 24/7, 365 is talk and do and Google Hangouts. And the difference is you can hang out with Janae whenever you want. I have to fly to Canada to see my girlfriend.
And do me, if you let me, Janae just made this cool new website that's just starting now with some interesting content on it. Go to vapegirl.net and
I'm going to check that out because we were having a brief conversation. Vape Girl, I'm going to go there right now. Vapegirl.net.
You know what, Janae, you and I must talk because I must know the ways of the YouTube from you.
Yeah.
I'm just starting out my Vaping review channel, but she's got over a year on me, and she is banging in there, man. She's like kicking ass. Yes, I'm giving you props, of course.
Very, very popular YouTube channel. Very, very well run.
One thing I told Janae when we were talking about her blog a little bit, she has a knack for tattooing, vaping, art. That works well in the community. That is a great niche. Because for some reason, tattoos and vaping, they just work. They are like we have a host here. He does Fat Man on I think it's when does Cal do his show? Is it 11 o'clock? And he's a tattoo artist. And for some reason, tattoos and vaping it's just a marriage made in heaven. And Janae she is a tattoo artist, right?
Oh yeah.
Right, and she's also, obviously, if you're a tattoo artist, you're good with art, and she's kind of artsy too.
Absolutely, yeah. One of the things you can check out on vapeworld.net is the Adventures of Nautilus, of a novelist cat, who's a new character she just started, who's a very, very naughty cat that writes fiction.
And so that's a good place, I think, when people, when she really gets the blog, with tons of content and stuff. I think that's a good, because even my blog, it's just pure vaping. That's all it is. There's nothing else there. I think Janae could put some another flavor on vaping that I think would be beneficial. Because talk about vaping 24/7. Even if you're the best, most interested vaper, it gets fucking boring after a while.
Yeah.
You gotta talk about something else while you vape. It could be somebody like Nitro who likes Magic the Gathering, or it could be Janae who wants to talk about tattooing, something. Or Rich, who's a gigolo.
No, I'm into bowling. That's my major thing. Like Russ, I know you're majorly into billiards, and
Yes.
I heard from pretty much anybody that I talked to that sat down at a table to play cards with you, always said the same thing. This is the general consensus. Yeah, I played poker with Russ. I donated money to him.
I've made some donations too along the way, but I used to be really. I mean, I was hardcore into poker. I was living it day in, day out. Really, I was running games out of my home, going to underground games in New York. I was deep into poker, and that stopped virtually right at almost to the day that I started vaping, because it was just you can't. How many hours are there in the day to really have, like, how many passions can you really have? And
right.
I kind of went from poker to vaping almost overnight. I kind of miss it still, so I'm glad that during the big vape meets I have a chance to run a couple games and just have fun with it. But I used to take it really seriously, and it was profitable. I mean, it was good, but I mean, you get burnt out. You get burnt out on anything. You can get there's the people that started way back in 2009, which was even before me. That there aren't that many of them left in the vaping community. You can burn out on this shit real easy. So you got to take it. You got to take it kind of slow, because anything you'll burn out on. But I've seen a lot of vapors burn out on the social media stuff. That's definitely.
Well, Joe, what were you into, like, before you got into vaping? I mean, like, were there any activities like sports or anything that you were into also?
No, I've always, people don't realize it, but I am a closet geek. I love my computers. I love building computers. I was played a lot of EverQuest on the computer. Stuff like the MMORPGs. I have an eBay business. So when I got into vaping, it was purely, even the idea of vaping was purely, by mistake. And vaping, when Russ was talking about burnout, I hope that doesn't happen to me. I really do. I don't ever want to become that jaded vapor. And I see jaded vapors, the vapors that, like, hey, you want to try this? No, I only vape one thing, and I only use one device. I hope I don't ever get like that. I mean, I love vaping so much. I wake up every morning excited to see what's going on out there. Sometimes it's good, sometimes it's bad.
Mm-hmm.
But every juice I get, I want to try it. Every mod I get, I want to try it. I hope I'm not just paving the way to get burnt out, because I love this too much. And like Russ says, you can get burnt out. I just hope it doesn't happen to me, because I do this shit 18 hours a day.
You're not. It's hard to burn out on the technology. Actually,
Mm-hmm.
It's just easy to get burnt out on the social media stuff. That is very. That's, I think, where most of it happens. Or if you're an advocate, a lot of those people that were there doing ridiculous amounts of work to make sure that this actually survived. That a lot of those people are gone. You can't be doing that day in and day out and expect to be doing it 2-3 years down the line. It's too much, and it's too frustrating, and there's generally more bad news than good, especially these days. So it's tough. But what you were saying about, I wish, Joe, I could just have one thing that I use and one juice that I use. That's what I want. I don't want any of this shit anymore. I just want one thing that's super easy to use, and that's the only thing. But something new comes out, and I'm just like, I just gotta try that. Gotta try this juice, or I gotta try this thing. I just want to be at the point where I'm buying the same thing from one place every day forever. I don't want anything else. I don't want any more new tech. I don't want any of this shit. I just want my vaping life to be as simple as possible from a technological perspective. The culture and the people that there's always something new, and I always want to meet new people. But I'm fucking done with technology. I don't want that shit anymore.
But you know what, though? You're in a situation, because you're in a relationship where somebody's going to get new technology or new stuff to try all the time.
Oh, God. You should see what she gets in the mail. I'm just because, like, all my K-Fund needs a rebuild, and all my other shit just seems to not be working great. I'm using a, what is this? This is a MIG-SIGs, what do you call this thing? A MIG-SIGs Clear Fusion Clearomizer, which is, I don't know, it's an 808 thread thing, and it's something she got in the mail today, and it's making me happy at the moment, and it's pretty easy to use. It's certainly not high-tech rebuildable stuff. It just happens to be something that's working right now, so I'm using that until I can rebuild all my other fucking nonsense later.
Hey, Rich, your feed has gone down.
My feed has gone down?
Yes.
Okay, hold on a second.
I think it could be Vapors TV.
One moment. One moment. I think we're back on.
Oh, yep, we are.
Okay, sorry about that, fellas. We had a little bit of a hiccup. Apologies. But you know what, Russ? I mean, there's a couple of devices that I saw, or heard, through your show, that I thought it was really interesting. Like, the first time I ever heard of the Nival chip was from you. And then eventually, I bought a chip from your dad. And I have it right here. I know you can't see, I don't know if you're watching the view, but no. I have it right here on this custom box mod that Chan made me. I sent her the chip and everything. I love it. And now I guess the Nival chip's making kind of like a surge right now with the Soviet Miesto. The Samovar.
The Samovar.
Right. So.
See, I look at the Samovar. Now, there's a lot of people out there that are like, see, I was going to buy the Samovar, but people were kind of like, well, don't. And I'm trying to figure out why. But I thought the Samovar, when I look, you know what the Samovar is, Russ? Mm-hmm. Okay. I look at the Samovar as what the ProVary should be. Like, it's built just as nice. It has wattage instead of just voltage. And I looked at the Samovar as a wattage ProVary in a sense, because it's built like one. It has the same, almost the same screen. The menu system, of course, is completely different. But I was going to get one, and then the DNA 30s came out, and I'm like, But we all know a new ProVary is coming, so hopefully that'll be cool. But is the Nival chip having a research, or?
Yeah, I haven't. Yeah, I think so. I think that device, for some reason, I mean, that's not a new device. That device has been around for years. But I guess it is just because VapeRev picked it up. I guess I don't know. Yeah. I mean, it's not a new device at all.
That's how these things work in the community, though. Something gets picked up and boom.
Yeah, I guess so. I mean, that's pretty much my go-to stuff is just my Moo mods with Nival chips. Some people find the menu system very difficult. It's like second nature to me, and I really like it. I mean, but there's so much. It almost, at this point, once you get to a certain point, it almost doesn't matter what you use. Because any of the chips, even the Chinese chips, kind of do what they say they're doing at this point. So, I don't know. I don't think it matters a whole lot what, your battery is, unless you're going into very low resistance loads. Then it becomes very important what you how you use it. Other than that, I mean, and I don't know. I think any of the power regulated stuff out there is pretty damn good these days. It's tough to go wrong, really. Certainly with anything that Evolve makes, any DNA 2030 stuff, it just works, and it's so simple to use. I mean, it's tough to go wrong with a product that has that in it.
Do you rebuild? Like, do you use
Yep.
mechs and stuff?
Do I use what now?
Mechs.
I
Mech
do
mods.
not. I absolutely do not use mech mods, but I do rebuild. I have a K-Fun Light Plus. I have a K-Fun Mini. I have a Patriot and another rebuildable dripper. So yeah, I do rebuild. That's mostly what I use when they're working. And yes, that's mostly what I use is rebuildable stuff, either with cotton or XD116, some twisted wire. That's my go-to kind of setup, my go-to build. Yeah.
You know, Russ, on that note, I mean, like, I'm wondering, do you think it's fair to say that at this point, like, going to, like, the national meets, like, for example, the next meet, probably all three of us in the, in the show we going to will be Chicago, Vape Bash. Do you think it's fair for me to say to you that at this point in, like, your vaping journey, I would say, you're more into going to the meets, more so for the camaraderie you have with the friends you have in the community, talking to people who are fans of your show, and to promoting more advocacy for this thing that we do, more so as the technology, correct?
When I go to a larger meet, I just want to hang out and have fun.
Right.
None of the. I mean, I've gone to the big vape meets, and when it's over, I've realized that I have not bought anything except not vaping stuff. You buy food, you pay for your hotel, but I haven't. I've been like, wow, I didn't buy anything because that's not why I go. And I understand, a lot of this new format, this new convention style format for the larger meets, I think serves a great purpose, and I think it's a great way to get information about products and everything else you just talked about. I think that's great. I haven't gone to any of those because and maybe I'm wrong, it just looks less social. It's a less it's less of a fun type environment. That's all I'm interested in. I'm interested in just hanging out, seeing the people I see online in person, playing some cards, having a few drinks. That's what I want to do at a vape meet. So the other stuff is not important to me then.
Yeah, speaking of cards, I keep saying I'm going to play one of your tables in. I remember the last table I was at, there's just so much arguing going on. I thought people were going to have a fist fight at your Omaha table during VaporCon. There was that one table.
Oh, there was one.
Yeah, that one table. Like, I was going to join that table. I had my money with me. I was ready to sit down, and then there was just arguments going on. I was like, oh, fuck.
That's really doesn't happen very often. Usually the games are very, very civil and polite and friendly. There was some. I'd never seen the guy before. I don't know who he is or anything, but he showed up and he was drunk and he was just being a complete asshole, and he left eventually. That was unfortunate. But other than that is like the only time that's ever happened.
Yeah, so this time Chicago, I got I mean I'm not that good of a poker player. I mean, I actually had to go on my computer because you told me the first night was Omaha. I had to go back and like start playing rounds of it on my computer just to relearn the game. Because I mean, like, I was playing like Texas Hold'em. That's all that I was used to.
It's not a big deal. It's just the stakes are very low. First of all, I do that intentionally so that you can't get hurt that bad.
Right.
And we might as well just be sitting at the table and not playing cards, because that's kind of what it would be anyway. We just happen to be shuffling chips around the table, throwing cards around. It's not like the underground New York poker scene where you got to go there and you got to be looking to kill in order to not get slaughtered. It's not like that. It's a very, very friendly game, friendly atmosphere. It's not like what you see in fucking Rounders or whatever.
Yeah, and just I don't know who it was that mentioned it in chat before, but just to let you know, yes, I played big time pot games for bowling. Like, I would go to like the seediest bowling alleys in like Staten Island, Queens, and stuff back in the day, and it'd be like anywhere up to like $100 a game. I was betting as much as like $500 a pot game, where we'd each put in $500 a piece, and the person who rolled the highest game won the pot. So yeah, I would play
any sport where there's a long period of time between when you're actually like doing something. That's just like there's going to be.
Hopefully, we're back live. Sort of. Okay, hold on a second. I think we're back on live. I see the lives on underneath. You guys see us?
Yeah,
okay.
There we go.
Okay, sorry
So
about that, guys.
a lot of people don't know this about you. I'll let you talk about it, Rich. But you're a big bowler.
Yeah, actually, kind of like with Russ, when I stopped bowling big time, like maybe a year before I started vaping, and the reason why is because my job was just getting too much for me. Like I was like staying late hours, I'm working on salary, and I used to bowl like up to 4 leagues a week. Like I'd leave work, go right to the bowling alley. Like I bowl a lot of leagues in Jersey. I would drive long just because that's where the best bowlers are. The best bowlers, the competitive bowlers, are in Jersey. It seemed to me.
Really?
Yeah, I went to a lot of leagues in Jersey. I mean, I had one league in New York that I went to that was available to my. But yeah, that's my big thing, and it's not just me. It's just that my growing up, it's like my dad taught me bowling. All of his friends were bowling. Bowling was very serious, and like I saw pot games. My dad was involved in pot games. I would be at Kingpin. Remember Kingpin, Russ? We'd be at Kingpin. I'd be there, 12-year-old kid watching my dad bowling. Friggin' pot games, $100 a head after the bowling league. So I mean, I grew up watching that. So that was almost like my version of poker in a sense.
Yeah, it's interesting you said because it was an amateur league, right, or semi-pro league?
No, I was always in amateur leagues. I never really delved into pros, but it was hardcore. I was hardcore bowling. I mean, I have 18 bowling balls in my closet right now.
I believe it.
18 bowling balls.
There's a
Sorry, Rich.
pool. Billiards has always been a sport that is just almost synonymous with gambling. But for some reason, the league I'm in, which is like the entry level, just have a good time kind of league, like a more of a relaxed, it's a handicap league. I've never seen after a night of league play, there's no money play after that. And I was expecting that. I was almost looking forward to it in a regard. For some reason, maybe it's that kind of league where it's really just so casual. There's no money going on there. I think that's the case. And it's a bar pool league. Maybe that's why. I think the leagues where there's billiards, where you get into where you're playing in a pool hole, I guess that's more. But I'm just surprised how little gambling there is. There's zero gambling in the league that I'm in. It's probably a good thing. Because I'm not very good. I love it, but I'm not so good.
This is like a newbie question when it comes to like when you're playing pool. I know there's levels of expertise of pool player. I mean, is 4, I guess, considered the highest, and 1's like a novice? Is that, or is it the opposite?
Maybe in the league that I'm in, which is the APA, the lowest level player is a 2, so that's the least skilled player you can be valued at is a 2, and the highest is a 7.
Okay.
And that's for 8 ball. In 9 ball, it goes from I think 2 to 8, and then there's a step up. But where I am, it goes, you're either a 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and the higher you are, the more you have to win, the lower you are. So it's a handicap league. The purpose of the handicap is, the purpose of the league is so that everybody can just kind of have a good time and playing. So like, even if you're not very good, you can still win a match against a very, very good player, because let's say when I started and I was a 2, I could still play a 6 and win, because I only have to win my match. I only have to win 2 games, and he has to win 6 games. So it's a handicap.
Mm-hmm.
So,
I understand. Yeah, because I dated a girl at one point, and I never understood her terminology, and she'd always have to go to pool halls like late at night. I would take her sometimes, and she still lives in Queens, and I think she got to a 4, but I didn't understand it too much because I would mostly drop her off. I'd go and do my thing, she'd do her thing, because that was her thing. I'd go hit bowling alleys, she'd go hit pool halls, and we'd round up and meet up afterwards. So thanks for clearing that up. I never asked her that. She might have told me, I've forgotten. But
now, when you mean billiards, are you playing the actual real billiards or just pool?
I guess it's the same thing. Yeah, just 8 ball. Yeah.
Okay. Because there's the real billiards where you play with the white and yellow and red balls.
And that's snooker, right?
Yeah, snooker.
Snooker.
But I thought the original billiards was snooker, wasn't it, or no?
Absolutely. Well, the original billiards was played on a very, very almost like a lawn, like you would mow it like a putting green. That was the original game of billiards was played outdoors on a finely manicured lawn, and instead of pockets, there were little hoops that were done in the ground. But the concept was the same: hit one ball into another to make it go through a little gate kind of thing. And then it eventually moved indoors, and then snooker was born. Snooker is a game I've never played. I've never even seen a real table in person, but I love watching snooker videos. It is one of the most relaxing and just amazing to see what these guys can do. It's it's not popular in America, but you can watch. It's very popular in China and very popular in the United Kingdom. And the things these guys can do on a pool table or on a snooker table it almost defies reason and physics. What these guys can do. It is an amazing game to watch. If you like pool, you should really consider just finding some YouTube videos on snooker and watch a match. You can sit there, watch a snooker match for an hour, and it is just a very relaxing, an amazing thing to watch. It's hard to explain, but I am addicted to watching snooker videos, despite the fact that I've never actually played the game.
Which brings me to my next question, since you brought up the UK. I would be in hangouts with Joe, or like various people at Nova, or people in the community, and every once in a while we'll talk about what meets do you want to go to. And one of the meets that I've been really wanting to go to is I want to go to UK Vape Fest. Have you ever thought about venturing into other countries and like seeing what the scene is like there? I'm not saying right now, Russ, but eventually down the line, just out of curiosity, because I know you're in good rapport with a lot of people who are hosts on Vapor Trail and stuff, or RY4 Radio, and I was wondering if that would be in your plans sometime in the future.
Oh, I'd love to go to because I like England. Period. I love England. I've been to London no less than 50 times. And
okay, you got me beat. I went like 12, maybe 14.
Yeah, I love that city. I love London. So I would really if they had. I don't know where I know they just announced the UK Vape Fest. I don't know if it's in London proper or not. If it was, I'd be much more likely to go. I would go to the one where there's people I want to see, really, because that's what a vape meet is all about to me, really. So yeah, I do it.
And Joe, you'd do it too, wouldn't you?
Yeah, I'd go. I'd see what it's all about. I would. One thing I really dislike about vape meets, especially if you're known in the community, is you can't enjoy yourself. You're hounded. You're talked to. People want to take pictures with you. And I get it, but there are times where you just want to be a vapor. And going overseas would give, I could just be, because I'm really not, nobody in the UK really knows, I don't have a presence in the UK. I'm trying to get one going, and going there, I could just be a vapor. I could talk with people, sit down, and just be like, I don't know, I just been vaping like 3 weeks,
Yeah, I mean, Janae makes a good point. We can always find a way to just blend in if we really absolutely had to. Even if you had to wear, even if certain people who are prominent in the community just had to wear disguises just to blend in, or dye your hair or something. But yeah, I agree. But anyway, we're getting close to the end. I'm sorry for the hiccups, guys. And but before I go, Russ, I think I told you about this before, but what I usually do with my guests, it's just 10 quick questions that James Clipston does on the Inside the Actor Scene, which is a show I love. I used to watch it immensely. Now I catch it when I have a chance.
So like you ask questions quickly and I answer them quickly?
Yep, just 10 questions real fast.
Okay.
Okay, so here we go. You ready? First question would be, what is your favorite non-curse word?
Orthogonal.
Okay. What is your least favorite word?
Probably.
Okay. And what turns you on?
A naked lady.
What turns you off?
A naked ugly lady.
Hairy ballsack.
All right. What sound do you love?
Theremin.
Okay. And what sound do you hate?
That screechy chalkboard thing. I hate that.
What's your favorite curse word?
I want to change my favorite sound. My favorite sound is meat cooking on a frying pan.
Oh, nice. Which brings me, I didn't want to bring it up because we would talk about it for a while, but I know that you are on a special diet that you've been on for a while now.
I've been off it for a little while.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I try to eat as many meats and vegetables as possible and as few carbs as possible. Over the past couple months, I've been eating some pasta and breads and stuff like that. I'd rather not, but man, it tastes good. But yeah, I in general try to do a very high protein, low carbohydrate diet. Yeah.
Well, okay. Well, here's a question for me, just like outside of this quiz. Is this the happiest you think you've been in the past couple of years? Right now?
Absolutely, absolutely.
Awesome, dude.
There's no question about it.
Okay. So what is your favorite curse word?
Oh, fuck. Fuck is the king. Fuck is king. Yeah.
And what profession other than yours would you like to attempt?
Oh boy, what I started doing when I got out of college was I was going down a track of being a record producer. That was my goal. And when I got into that industry, I quickly learned that you have to be a slave for many, many years before you get anywhere near actually touching a knob on a soundboard that is going to affect the sound of an artist's performance. And now it's even harder because it's so much easier to do it in your basement or in your living room or whatever. Yeah, that's shit. Cutting records would be the coolest thing ever, but man, that's just suicide going into that now. So it ain't gonna happen. And I'm not equipped for porn. So yeah,
now, what profession would you not like to do? On that note,
anything involving numbers. I'm terrible with math.
Okay, and here's the last one. Now, the last one, it's a little antsy because I know your religious views, but hypothetically, very hypothetically, if heaven exists, what would you want God to say to you?
Go home.
Okay. Anyway, guys, Country Pammy's going to put up his links once more. Please, guys, please visit Russ Tuesday nights, 9 p.m. on Vapor's Place. He also has his archives located on SoundCloud. Country Pammy will put those up also. Don't forget vapegirl.net, which is Janae's new site. She has cartoons. She has her art. She also has, your YouTube reviews, which are very popular in the community. And also, don't forget that, you're always welcome back. You're a good guy, bro. I'm looking forward to seeing you in Chicago, but I'm hoping to see you at the Whiskey War at the end of this month. If I need to, I'll have to cancel a show at the end of the month to come and see you.
Yeah, absolutely. Rich, I had a great time actually tonight. Thank you so much for having me on. And yeah, if you're in the New York City area, it's the last Thursday of every month. That would make it Thursday, March 27th. So that's in Manhattan, last Thursday of every month. If you're in the area, send me an email, clickbangradio@gmail.com, and I'll give you all the details. Thank you so much, Joe. Rich, I had a great time with you guys tonight.
Hey, thank you.
Hey, Joe, thanks a lot for helping me out tonight. I really appreciate it. I think it made the interview much more, memorable. And Russ, much love, brother. I'm hoping to see you at the end of the month, man.
Right on, right on. Cheers, y'all.
All right, take it easy. Take it easy, Joe. Thank you, man.
Bye, man.
Okay.